Medical doctors at the Oncology Department of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital have abandoned consulting rooms in protest over delayed fixing of a critical equipment in service delivery. The linear accelerator system used for radiotherapy services has been malfunctioning since October 2023, adversely impeding the diagnosis and treatment of cancer cases. According to management, the machine has been repaired but remains non-operational due to delayed access to a water platform needed to calibrate the system. But the doctors say they are frustrated by the delayed fixing of the equipment. Documents available to Joy News show steps by the hospital management to address the concerns of health workers, including $109,623 letter of credit established by the hospital for the equipment procurement. Management has therefore described the industrial action as unfair, as the strike will affect all other patients who may not necessarily need radiotherapy.
It's not helping them because they are saying their machine is not working. And looking at my mom's condition, we can't go home. Like, we are staying at Obuasi, we can't go home and come back again. Like, it's a whole lot, so they should do something about it for us.
I mean, looking at the condition of your mom, she's even struggling to get inside the car.
Yes.
Do you think that you can go and come back some other time?
No, it's not helping. We came last week and they said she should go and do something. So let me say, for the past 3 weeks, she has not been here. So she's suffering. I'm even in school and I came back home. So that's not helping us. So.
Okay, they are still on strike. They are still on strike. The doctors are not coming. They are not working. Today, only one doctor is working. So it is true.
How is it affecting you?
Yeah, really, it is affecting us. We are being affected because my wife is seriously sick and there's no doctor taking care of him. There's no doctor. So we are being affected. Yes, we are being affected. We see some patients over here, and even most of them they have gone, and most of them are not coming because of the strike. So we are being affected.
What's the option for you?
My option is government should pay attention to them because they are saying that their machines that they are using has got spoiled, and they have been complaining. The doctors are not paying attention. The government is not paying attention. So my option is the government should come in to see their needs and then provide for them to do their work.
We'll be getting Anabuachi Yadom, who's been monitoring this at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, to tell us more about this. We'll also be telling you about the hospitals that the health minister has been promising to complete in the Ashanti region. Right now, 3 transformers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana in the eastern region have been vandalized by thieves who made away with copper windings within this week. The recent transformer theft brings to 13 the total number of transformers stolen in the region this year. Joy News' sources has disclosed that the thefts in Bunsu, Kede, and Bukono, where unidentified persons destroyed 100 kVA and 200 kVA unit transformers, plunged residents into darkness. I've been joined by Kofi Sian, who is our correspondent in the eastern region. Kofi, give us a breakdown of the 13 transformers that have been stolen so far.
Okay, so Aisha, the 13 transformers, the areas that these theft cases happen include Koforidua, majority of them in the regional capital, then Bokuno. That transformer is an MTN dedicated transformer, so it's solely for the operations of the MTN. Then the recent one that was yesterday at Bunsu, where the transformer is situated just on the premises of the CSIR office in Bunsu. And it belongs to the Tafo district of the ECG. So if you want to find out the number of transformers stolen this week, I can confirm to you that there are 2, and that brings to 13 the total number of transformers stolen in the eastern region from January till this time.
Have these perpetrators been made to face the law, Kofi?
Well, so far, my source at the ECG tells me these unidentified persons hasn't been arrested. The ECG officials are making frantic effort with the Ghana Police Service and other security agencies in the region to ensure that they arrest these perpetrators. But for now, none of them has been arrested.
We're told that some people had to sleep in the dark as a result of this. What has become of those?
You know, in recent times, places like Achimodan, Kede, and its surrounding areas were plunged into total darkness. Gridco issued statements to that effect, and they attributed that to the fact that some of these transformers in these areas have been stolen. And since that time, it took them about a couple of weeks to be fixed. And for now, I can assure you that these areas have light, except for the Bunsu area where the transformer was stolen just yesterday.
Have you had the opportunity to speak with the ECG? What measures are they putting in place to deal with some of these thefts?
Okay, so I spoke to the regional PRO, Mr. Ham, and he tells me that this is not new because in the past few years, their regional boss has the cause to complain about the fact that people have been stealing their transformers, and that they are also making effort to make sure that these perpetrators are arrested. So for now, since they haven't arrested anybody, they are still liaising with the security agencies to ensure that the perpetrators of this act are brought to book.
Kofi Sian is our correspondent in the Eastern region. We'll bring you more on this as it unfolds. We'll definitely be hearing from the ECG on what it intends to do about this. Let's take you back to the Ashanti region, to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, where Nana Boakye-Yiadom has been monitoring what has become of cancer patients as the oncology department becomes shut to patients. Nana, paint a picture of the impact of this abandonment by the medical doctors at the oncology department. Nana Boakye, kindly unmute for me. Right. Nana Boakye-Yiadom, if you can hear me, I need you to paint a picture of what has become of cancer patients as the oncology department is now shut to those patients. Nana Boakye-Yiadom, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Aisha.
Right. So tell us what has become of the cancer patients as the oncology department is no longer working.
Well, as we speak to you, some of these cancer patients visiting the oncology department of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital have been asked to go back home because the doctors who are...
Your call has been put on hold.
Right, Nana Boakye-Yiadom is a man monitoring this at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. We'll try and bring him back to tell us more on what is happening with cancer patients at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. But still to come in this bulletin, leader of the Movement for Change, Alan Kyerematen, has been promising Ghanaians of a lot of things he will be doing. He says he will create an environment that will foster a stable currency and also drive low inflation. When we return from this break, there's a special conversation with the leader of the Movement for Change.
The council and
welcome back to join us today. And founder and leader of all the Movement for Change and presidential candidate for the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, Alan Kyerematen, has pledged to comprehensively deal with government expenditure and create an environment that will foster a stable currency and drive low inflation. These are contained in his Great Transformation Agenda, which he launched on Monday. His agenda thrives on 6 thematic areas, and I'll be sharing that with you shortly: economic, governance, infrastructure, social services, environment, science, technology and innovation, and natural resources, and behavioral and mindset change. I'll tell you more about that, and Alan Kyerematen himself is here to break it down for us. Good to have you, Mr. Alan Kyerematen.
Thank you, Aisha. How are you doing?
I'm good, good, good. How has the campaign been so far?
Well, it's going very well. Going around the country is the same message that I hear. Nobody wants to listen to what the MPP or the NDC is saying any longer. They are tired of the two parties. They want an alternative. They want change. They are hoping that if it is true that Alan will show up,
Okay.
then at least they have a viable alternative. So they are all hoping and waiting that Alan will show up. So all I need to do now is to make sure that I get to the people. But I think that the goodwill is great and is organic. You can see it's very natural. You know. So now I have to make sure that I insert myself and then they will get to see me.
You have some very interesting areas that you want to focus in that document you launched yesterday. Those 6 thematic areas. I want us to start with the economy. And with the economy, you talk about the drive for expenditure management and control. This, you and I agree, is being one of the biggest challenges we've had, government expenditure, which is leading us into many areas that we do not want. What have you identified as the issues, the problems and the measures that you have put in place to address this?
Thank you very much. And just for clarification, just so that people don't get confused.
Right.
The GTP has 6 clusters.
Clusters, right.
And each cluster has a number of pillars.
Okay. Okay.
And the pillars have policy solutions or policy prescriptions.
Right.
So, for example,
so what the first cluster is the economy.
Is the economy.
Right.
And under the economy, there are 4 pillars.
Right.
One is the macroeconomy. And then the second is industrial transformation. And then a new agricultural revolution.
Okay.
And last but not the least is tourism. So if you take the macroeconomic pillar, this is where expenditure management and control comes in. But it's very simple. Yes, government has a responsibility to provide infrastructure to deliver services to the people. But you also have a responsibility to make sure that you have the resources, the revenue or the income to finance that expenditure. If you spend more than you have as income, then there's a deficit. And if there's a deficit which has to be covered, then you have to borrow to be able to cover the deficit. And obviously, that is not sustainable if you keep on borrowing to finance your deficit. So you always have, as a government, to try and bring your expenditure and your revenue under control and keep it in balance. Now, we have a very unfortunate situation where over several decades, we are spending more than we earn in terms of revenue. And so for any government that is seeking to develop a stable economy, your major responsibility is expenditure management and control. And if that is indeed the case, then it has to start with government. You have to run a lean government. If you don't have the resources to finance a big government or executive administration, then you don't do it. You have to cut down the size of government.
So you propose 40?
40 ministers. And the interesting thing, Aisha, is that if you look at the Constitution, the Constitution talks about 19 ministers, cabinet ministers.
Sure.
And then also one minister to have oversight for each region. So in the case of Ghana, we have 16 regions. If you decide to go by the Constitution and you have 19 cabinet ministers, and you add the 16 regional ministers, you have 35. So it means that technically speaking, you ought not to go even beyond 35. So if you go to the extent of having 100 ministers, then you have a problem because it comes with a cost.
But if you want to be technical, then you should go with 19 ministers, as the Constitution is prescribed.
Oh yes, but the point is that the constitutional requirement does not suggest that you cannot go beyond that.
Beyond, yes.
Yes,
but
talking about cabinet ministers.
But you and I are trying to cut costs, right?
Yes, cut
so
costs.
do with 19 ministers.
Well, and if you look at my proposal, I've specified who will be in the 40 ministers.
Okay.
So there are 19, and then the 16, so 35, and the 5 additional ones are supporting the 19. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
Okay.
Because, currently we have deputy ministers. Some ministries have 3 deputy ministers, some 2, some 1. Now, what we are saying is that if you have a sense of running a lean government, which is the only way you can control your expenditure, then make sure that you reduce the size of your government.
Right.
And that's what I am proposing. Now, in which case, we have 35 ministers and 5, we don't call them deputies this time, they are ministers of state.
Okay. So
And I've provided the list. If you go through the list, it's under the governance section.
So you think that 40 will work out for you?
Oh, not that it will. I have no choice.
Than to work with 40 ministers?
Yes, I have no choice.
And you'll be able to achieve all of these that you've put in that agenda?
But you see, if you go to some of the matured economies, those who have bigger budgets, I don't believe that any of them even have more than the kind of ministerial appointments that we have currently. So, in my case, I'm hitting the ground running if I become president. And it's a question of optimizing the work of your ministers. Yes, I know. I have a plan that would take Ghana forward. So it's a big program. There's no doubt about that. So you're right in asking whether my 40 ministers will be able to deliver that.
To
Yes,
achieve this.
that's why if you want to be in politics, it's about public service.
Okay.
And you have to get it done. And at any point, you have a large public service, a large civil service. You have to make them work. You have to put them to work. So Aisha, it's about us as politicians, we have to get serious.
Okay. You want to reduce taxes and you want to reduce import duties.
Yes.
The government under which you served imposed so much taxes on businesses, especially who keep complaining that their businesses are collapsing. Why do you want us to believe you if you pitch this to us?
No, but I'm not here to speak on behalf of the government.
Okay.
You understand me? So I am the leader of my own movement.
Okay.
I'm contesting to become a president. And so I've put forward a plan. I want to speak to my plan.
Okay.
So if the current government, I'm no longer a member of the NPP, I'm not a member of the government.
But you can't erase that from
I
your
can't erase that.
track record, from your CV. It's part of
you're
it.
absolutely right. But what I'm seeking to explain is that I've been in government, and I was in government with a certain sense of purpose. If at any point in time I do not believe that I can achieve that purpose, because I'm there to serve the people.
Yeah.
And so if I believe that remaining in the party and in government will not advance my desire and how I'm able to serve the people, then I should have the courage to come out. And that's what we need to do in Ghana. If it is not working, you come out.
Okay.
And in fact, I know people keep on asking, oh, but, well, you've been part of it. But
did you make these suggestions when you were there?
Everybody who has followed my political career would understand that they shouldn't be surprised if at long last I've come out. Because I have been talking about transformation for so long. During Kufuor's time, I was talking about transformation. But actually, the interesting thing is that even at graduate, even undergraduate school level, in the University of Ghana, in the Faculty of Economics, my dissertation was how to change the structure of the Ghanaian economy.
Okay.
Even at that time, and this is from 1973 up to 1976. Even at that time, I was talking about transformation. It's just recently that I was trying to put pieces together and thinking that if this has been your mindset, even from school, it means that you are genuine about it. And it's so it's not about me coming out of government now and now talking about transformation. I'm sure you know that I was the lead architect of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Sure.
All those initiatives that I have championed are all aimed at transformation. In that case, it was the transformation of Africa, bringing Africa together in one common market. In Ghana, under President Kufuor, when I talked about presidential special initiatives, it was about transformation. One district, one factory under President Kufuor, when I introduced that, it was about transformation. When I started talking about vehicle assembly and component manufacturing in Ghana, it's all about transformation. Transformation is technically defined as significant or substantial change. And the reason why Ghana is not moving forward is that even when we grow, our growth is not significant enough for it to result in transformation. And that is why when there are shocks, either domestic or external, it then undermines the stability of your economy, because your economy is not transformed.
So, I mean, one interesting thing that I saw in the breakdown of your classes is having a stable...
I'm very impressed. It means you've read...
Yes, I have.
Reading it.
Yes, I have, and I'll continue to read. And it's about the stable currency.
Yes.
Around this time, if you pitch this to any Ghanaian, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
But how do you intend to achieve this when, for instance, our forest reserves have depleted? It's not like you're going to operate in isolation. You're going to continue from whichever government leaves, then you continue from there. What magic are you going to do?
You see, the interesting thing about this Bible, this economic Bible, the Alan Gospel, is that everything that I've set out in the plan has very specific solutions, prescriptions about how it's going to be done. So if you look at this, stable currency, it shows you exactly what I would do. The short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures.
Okay.
For example, very simply, your foreign exchange has to be driven by supply and demand. So if you have a greater inflow of foreign exchange into your economy, then that now backs up your local currency, because it means that you have more foreign exchange now looking for your local currency. Okay. So it will be stronger. But if you have limited foreign exchange inflows and everybody is trying to look for foreign exchange, then obviously the higher demand for the foreign exchange would mean that people are prepared to pay a higher rate for the foreign. So supply and demand. So if you want to stabilize your currency, the first thing you have to do is to increase the flow of forex. And the only way you can do through this is to export. If you export more, you get more foreign exchange.
Okay.
And then also you have to reduce your requirement for foreign exchange. And that's what is very important. You need to be able to produce some of the things that you are currently importing. But if you have a currency that is not stable, in the short term, there are measures which have nothing to do even with your export and import substitution.
Yeah.
For example, the role that forex bureaus play, because they trade in currency. So if you don't have oversight and control over forex bureaus, it means that a forex bureau operator can decide that today I want to buy $1 at 15 cedis. The next day, by his own calculation, he can decide that I'm prepared to pay 16. The next morning, I'm prepared to pay 17. Now, if there's no oversight, then you have a situation where you have speculative trading in forex.
Okay.
So in the short term, you have to put a very strong oversight regime over forex bureaus.
Did you do that while Trade Minister?
But you see, but this is the interesting. People keep on asking. If you are Trade Minister, you have your responsibility.
But this comes directly under trade.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, but the control of foreign exchange.
These currencies, I mean, one of the arguments they've put up strongly.
No, is the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
And then to some extent, Bank of Ghana.
But you have a say. When it has to do with businesses and how they trade, you have a say.
But I don't control the decisions in respect of that. But just to give you comfort, the reason why I have a lean government now is that I have proposed that we will combine the Ministry of Finance, Trade and Industry. Because that
as one?
Yes, that's one. That immediately solves the problem.
Okay.
Because as you're rightly saying, I deal with businesses, and my interest is to make sure that businesses survive. So if the cedi is depreciating, it affects my constituency, the business people. But I don't have control over that process, the central bank or the Ministry of Finance. If you combine the two, and you have a central bank that, though independent, is also working within certain parameters, then this becomes very easy. It becomes very easy to, in fact, we should not even get to a situation where we have a problem of unstable currency. I don't understand why we should wait for it to get to that point. But it's not just controlling the work of the forex bureaus or exporting. For example, if you export, you are required to bring your foreign exchange earnings from exports to the country. That's what we call repatriation of forex. Now, if instead of bringing the forex exchange into the country, you keep it in your offshore account, it means that you are denying the country the use of the foreign exchange proceeds. But if the regulation is enforced, then the repatriation of forex would increase the flow of foreign exchange in our economy. There are so many other solutions.
But the bigger picture, the fact that we keep running back to IMF every time, what we've recently done is to actually defer our pain.
Yeah.
What's your plan to actually fix this, just deal with it once and for all so we don't go back to IMF?
Yes, the only way we can avoid not to go back to the IMF is for us to transform our economy. And when I talk about transforming our economy, it's first to maintain fiscal consolidation, meaning that don't spend what you do not have. So that is where your expenditure management and control is number one.
Yeah.
Number two, you have to optimize your revenue. if you optimize your revenue by increasing your tax net or making sure that people are tax compliant, then it means that you will earn enough to be able to finance your expenditure. You don't have to borrow. That's number 2. Number 3, you have to be able to put a cap on what you borrow. The main problem that we have in Ghana is that we are caught into what I call a debt trap, not death trap, a debt trap. Why? For what, decades, 50 years since independence, all governments have been borrowing. And what do they use the money for? Number 1, they borrow to finance consumption. If you are importing, consumables, and you need forex to do that, you borrow to finance consumption, or you finance to cover the expenses that you incur with a big government. That's all. You're only borrowing to finance consumption. Then we also borrow to refinance our debt. Can you believe it that you are borrowing to pay for debt that you have already incurred? So it means that you are back to square one. You are owing X $100, and you go and borrow to come and pay the $100. It means that even though you are borrowing,
you are still owing.
You are still owing. In fact, you are owing more because your second borrowing comes with an interest. So if you are borrowing to finance consumption, and if you are borrowing to just pay for debt, and if you are borrowing to pay for social services, free housing, free education, it means that whatever you have borrowed does not generate any income because you are just spending, even though it is for a good purpose.
So all of this you're talking about is a long-term measure. So that means that even under your government, we'll still go back to IMF until we fix our problems.
So what I'm saying is that to fix your problems, you need a policy to deal with expenditure management and control, and that's what you have here. And here you find short-term, medium-term, and long-term. You need a program to deal with your currency. But that's only on the macroeconomy. The other pillars in the economic cluster is industrial transformation,
which I was coming to.
Yes.
So that also includes
the economy.
That includes boosting local industries.
Yes, boosting local industries.
I mean, at the same time, you want to reduce import duties.
Yes.
And businesses recently have been complaining about why people, the reason why they are not thriving is because people keep importing foreign stuff into the country. And so people don't have the taste for local stuff that they manufacture here. So you want to reduce import duties, yet you want to help transform the local industry. How do you intend to strike that balance?
Basically, you are helping your local manufacturers and producers to be able to produce more.
When people are importing into the country?
So I'm saying that, so that is boosting local production.
Okay.
But at the same time, you are also trying to reduce imports. So in actual fact, you have two complementary policies. Whilst you support local production, you are also reducing all your interventions are meant to reduce imports.
Okay.
But if you reduce imports, it has to be replaced with local production. So in fact, they are complementary. Boosting local production is the only way you can reduce imports. So,
but also you are giving them incentives for importing.
No, I understand you. But then that is why if you are reducing your appetite for importation, then you don't give incentives for importation.
Yes, but that's what you seek to do?
No, how is that?
If you reduce duties, I mean, the money that people pay when they import stuff into the country, you're actually strengthening them to do so.
No. You see, if you are reducing taxes and duties on imports, it doesn't always mean that you are reducing, let's say, duties on finished goods.
Okay.
See, if you reduce taxes, you help your local producers and manufacturers to be able to compete, because there are certain raw material products which go into local production, which have to be imported.
So are you going to segment it? That,
Oh, yes,
I mean, the reduction of duty is on raw materials and not on finished products?
Primarily, it has to be on products that go into local
Manufacturing.
But obviously, there are products which we do not have the capacity to produce locally. And even with those ones, generally, you'll be selective. But the bottom line is that there is no country in the world that can survive on the altar of high taxes. It's because if you have a high tax regime, then you are making your companies uncompetitive. And so by reducing taxes, remember, by reducing taxes, you are helping your own companies to become more competitive.
Yeah.
Because they have no choice. In some cases, they have to import certain components. So if you reduce the tax, you are making them more competitive. But also, remember that if you have a low tax regime in general, it also reduces inflation. Because if you have a high tax regime, it means that producers and manufacturers have no choice but to pass on the tax on to consumers.
Okay.
Because nobody, it's going to just contain the effect.
The high cost of production.
Yeah. So they have to transfer it. So then you're also increasing the prices of goods, and that's inflation. Now, if you have high inflation because your tax regime is so high and it's affecting the cost of production, then what are you doing? You are reducing consumer demand. If you go to the market right now, because I go to the market.
Okay.
And what you hear generally is that, oh, people are not buying. Why are they not buying? They are not buying because prices of goods are high. That's inflation. Now, if they are not buying, then it means that it's a signal to producers that you have to cut down on your production.
Yeah.
Because if you produce more, it will not be bought.
Yeah.
So you have to cut down on your production. If you cut down on your production, number one, it means that you have to lay off workers. If you lay off workers, that also becomes a burden on government. Because otherwise, or if they were in employment, they'll pay income tax. The company itself, if they are doing well and they are producing and people are buying, they will pay corporate tax. But if he's making a loss, because of high taxes, then it means that government will not even get revenue from corporate tax. And then if you lay off workers, government is also denied the opportunity of having revenue from, let's say, income tax. So whichever way you look at it, when I talk about Alan with the GTP leading the effort to introduce an enterprise economy, that is what it means. Because it's all about private enterprise. It's all about entrepreneurship. It's all about innovation. So Aisha, for example, yes, I know you are paid very well. You are anchor. You have a great presence in the media and everything. But if, for example, I were to propose to you that yes, it's good, maybe you've done enough in the media, but government can support you to establish your own business. It doesn't have to be in the media, some other, you will be making a contribution to the economy, maybe beyond even the work that you do now. I'm not trying to suggest that you leave your media work, but we have to get to a situation in this country where everybody is hungry to set up their own business.
Recently,
you don't believe that?
Well, business is good. I mean, if there's that enabling environment for people to set up their businesses, yes. That's a good one.
That's where we have to get to. That's the enterprise economy that I'm talking about.
Recently, there's been a decline in cocoa production. I mean, primarily because of financing. And I mean, it's been a long while struggling to catch up. What's your plan? Because I see a whole segment dedicated to cocoa production. What's your plan?
Actually, the section is not talking about cocoa production, it's talking about cocoa financing.
Right, cocoa.
Because, Aisha, cocoa is the most dominant commodity for Ghana. It is our leading export commodity.
True.
Now, every year, we go for a loan syndication exercise to bring in almost $2 billion into the economy. We borrow. It's not for free. We borrow $2 billion through cocoa loan syndication. Meanwhile, we don't pay for the cocoa that we buy from the farm. We don't use foreign exchange to buy that. We use local currency. Our cocoa farmers are paid in local currency, not in foreign exchange.
True.
So why are you borrowing dollars to buy cocoa
seedling
with cedis? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why one of my proposals is that we would abolish the cocoa loan syndication scheme. All government needs to do is to mobilize cedis through local bonds and things like that to pay for cocoa from the farmers, so that when we sell our cocoa, the full value of what we sell comes to the economy. If we are getting $2 billion from our cocoa export, that money, when it comes, must not then go back to pay for that loan.
Right.
It must come into the economy. And then last but not the least on cocoa, how is it that the balance sheet of Cocoa Board is not part of our government balance sheet? The most important organization as far as your economy is concerned, they keep their own books separate from government accounting. How is that even possible? For all these years, it means that Cocoa Board as an institution is handling the finances of the most important commodity in your outside government balance sheet.
Did you question that when you were minister?
Did I question that? I have my role that I'm playing. Yeah. If I have ideas and advice, it will just be amongst us.
Did you make those suggestions?
That's internal. But what I'm suggesting to you is that if I am president, all the things that I'm talking about, whether it is, because if you are president, you have total control over the whole economy. So you can direct what is done in every sector. But I cannot carry the responsibilities of an entire government.
So you advised, did you advise the president to do so?
Just because that's our internal matter.
But if you advised the president to do so and he didn't do, then that's...
I'm saying that I'm not talking about what the MPP did or did not do. Because I'm here to tell the people of Ghana that if Alan becomes president within 2 or 3 years, what is going to happen in this country will be phenomenal. It may look like, so how come that we've been sitting around all these years But it is not rocket science.
Let's delve into one of the biggest issues
Yes.
confronting us, education. And the free SHS has come under, it's come under a lot of, if you like, scrutiny.
Yes.
What's your plan? Because there's those who feel that it must be reviewed. There are those who say it must be scrapped. Where's your stance?
Yeah.
Review or scrap?
What I've said is that it's unfortunate that there's been no comprehensive review of the free SHS policy, because that's the starting point. It's a good idea to enhance access to education for the people of this country. Now, but then after 7 years, almost 8 years, a national program of this nature must undergo a comprehensive review. What I have said is that's one of the first things I will do, to undertake such a comprehensive review, but not just reviewing it for the sake of reviewing it. I've indicated the criteria for the review. 1, financial sustainability. Is it financially sustainable? Number 2, what are the infrastructural requirements that can sustain the free SHS? So the fact that it's a good idea, if you don't analyze the financial implications, the infrastructural requirements, the curriculum requirements, even analyzing what to do with the graduates of free SHS, we cannot have a situation where if you produce people, you cannot guarantee them a job.
There's currently a bill in Parliament seeking to bind successive governments to not to scrap the free SHS. What's your stance on this bill?
My stand is that let us, as a country, undertake this comprehensive review. The policy itself, it's a good one, as I said, to enhance enrollment. But the implementation and operationalization of it has to be reviewed. It's not sacrosanct. It has to be reviewed. When it is reviewed, then we are in a position to take a decision on reorienting it, re-engineering it, recalibrating it. Now, I haven't studied the elements of what has gone to Parliament. But if you ask my own personal opinion, I would say that there is no need for legislation now. Let us undertake a comprehensive review and then make sure that if we are going to retain it, this is the framework now for operationalizing. At that point in time, then it will make sense for us now to have Parliament legislate on that. Because at that point, we have had more or less a very comprehensive look at the program. And then we can, as a people, decide that now that we know how to operationalize it, we can then legislate on it so that it becomes basically a permanent feature of our...
Under your infrastructure cluster, you talk about reducing the housing deficit. I know that we've made some progress, but there's a lot more work to be done. And also very important under that cluster is your plan to reduce waste. You talk about water, sanitation, waste management, and sewage systems. Before I talk about the housing deficit, let me first deal with the waste management, because it's one of the biggest problems we have, especially with plastic waste. Do you have a comprehensive plan to deal with this?
I have a policy to deal with it.
Okay.
Now, the policy will now be translated into a program and then projects. Now, the reason why you have to start with a policy is that my view, for example, is that the modern way of treating waste, either through recycling, generating energy from it, there are so many ways of dealing with waste now. there is no way that government can finance the infrastructure requirements for an efficient and effective waste management program. There's no way. It's not going to be possible.
Okay.
You can't even pay for your energy to keep your lights on. So how are you going to now finance that? So I've said several times, even during government, that let us introduce incentives and get the private sector to finance the infrastructure required, whether for waste management, for building roads, for building airports. Government does not need to borrow to deal with our waste.
So how do you intend to deal with it?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Bring the private sector into this. They have the money, they have the technology, they have the management capability, they have what it takes to help us manage our waste. Why is government interested in controlling that sector?
Okay, so
when you neither have the resources, you don't have the skills, you don't have anything.
For the sake of time, let me ask you this final question. I'm happy you talked about government not having money to keep the lights on. Do you have the way, or what means do you intend to keep the lights on for us?
It's all there. Bring the private sector.
So you will privatize ECG, for instance?
To the extent that you bring in not just power generation, because now we have private sector participation in terms of generation. You know, we have independent power producers. But in terms of transmission, in terms of distribution, which is where ECG comes in, the transmission is GridCo and NetCo. Government does not even have the money to maintain our transmission infrastructure. And you are sitting on it. And that's where if you have transmission losses, it's because these are transmission infrastructure. Do you know when they were built? So many years ago, not just the transformers, but the main transmission infrastructure. Why do you want to still keep your hold over that when you don't have the money to bring in new technology, new transmission infrastructure? So you continue to have transmission losses. And you continue, if you have transmission losses, then you cannot keep your lights on. Also, if you can't run your economy properly, then you don't have the revenue to buy fuel to fire your thermal plants. This is what is happening. It's not just the fact that we are not investing in our transmission infrastructure or even building new, I would say, energy generation sources. No. Even the money to buy fuel or gas to fire our existing thermal is a major problem. It's a major problem because now we have a depreciating currency. If you have to import crude, and in some cases even gas to fire your thermal, and you have a depreciating currency, it means that you need more money now.
Yep.
So it is a cul-de-sac situation. It's a cul-de-sac situation. You know, and for me, just speaking to Ghanaians, the two parties, NDC and MPP, they've had the privilege to run this country for the last 32 years. Both of them, they can't keep the lights on.
So you will keep the lights on?
And I have told you how to keep the lights on.
By bringing in the private sector?
But look, you have two dominant parties that have been in power for 32 years. You are going into an election in December. You can't even produce your not even a plan, even the manifesto, just manifesto promises. Just making promises. You can't even do that. Why is it that, why is it that I have come in new and I have produced the most comprehensive policy blueprint?
Well, we'll wait to see theirs, then we can make a proper comparative analysis.
You have read it. Okay, when are they going to be?
We haven't.
And what is in there?
Alan Kyerematen, I'm so grateful that you were able to make it, and wish you all the best as you work on this transformational agenda. And in the coming days,
and remember, I'm focusing on the young people, because try and position yourself well.
Oh, but me, you've already given me a position. I'll be a cabinet minister. And as the days go, I mean, we'll be breaking this document down properly and ask all the questions that there is. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure, as always.
And that'll be it for joining us today. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching.